All right, kids. Clearly, I'm not here today, so I am so sorry, but Doc's fever has gone back up again, and I'm actually recording this now at school at 8 o'clock at night because I wanted to make sure that I got a little bit of FaceTime with you today. So today, you guys are going to actually start some of the work for Ethan Frome next week. And part of that is us starting to explore some of the possible themes and things you might see running through the story next week with a little short story today. So the first thing I'm going to want you guys to do is you guys are all going to work as a class and do a read aloud using the handout, the short story Shaving. Okay, and you're going to get this. It's a class set, so please, please, please do not write on it. Do not put your name on it. This is going to be collected back, so do not fill out anything on this piece of paper. What you may write on is another piece of paper that you are going to get that is going to look like this. And it says Shaving on one side, and then the other side you don't need to worry about right now. The other side says Ethan Frome pre-reading exercise. You don't need to do that right now. Today we are just focusing on these questions for shaving, okay? And what I want you guys to do is you're going to read this aloud as a whole class, so you guys can pick, maybe do popcorn, or if there's just a handful of people, you want to have somebody start off reading, and then when they get bored, they can stop and somebody else just pick up. I'm fine with that. But I'd like you to all be on the same page and read together, please, as one loud class read aloud. It's not too long of a story, but I also want you to think of this as taking place a little bit in the past. Think maybe 1950s, 1960s. And there are some kind of unsaid things in this short story about obligation. When we say obligation, we're talking about things that we feel we must do, but maybe they're not always vocalized things. And so as you guys are doing the reflection questions, I want you to think about the protagonist. Remember, the protagonist is who you see as being kind of the hero in the story, or the main person, the good guy, so to speak, or girl. And the second question, which kind of always stumps people the first time around with the story, is who is asking him or her to make a choice? And on the surface, when you first look at this story, you might think, oh, I don't really see much of a choice of anything being asked here. It's not that big of a thing. But there is. There's something bigger being asked of this person here. And I really want you to dig beneath what's obvious on the surface and look a little bit more at some of the things that this person's being asked to consider or make a choice between. And then ask yourself, do these other people or does this other person have the right to put this person in the position to make that choice? As you read it, it'll start to make a little bit more sense. And then I want you to make two lists on here, and you'll see this. It says family responsibilities and individual desires that seem to be in conflict with these obligations. And what I mean by that is sometimes, for example, I might have the desire, for example, tonight to go to the gym or to relax and read my favorite book or do a million and one other things. But then maybe my family obligation is I have to make sure I'm taking care of my kids tonight because one of them's really sick and I have to make sure that he's taken care of and I don't have time to do those other things. Sometimes our families expect us to do certain chores around the house. Sometimes our families expect us to be present for certain events and things like that. And sometimes it's simple things like, maybe you have family game night on Fridays, or you have, Sundays, it's always expected that you go to church or something like that. What are family responsibilities that you see? Not necessarily in the story, but just in your world and the life around you. And then what are sometimes your individual desires that get in the way of that make that difficult? So you guys are going to take about 5-10 minutes if you need it for you to quietly on your own try to answer these questions after having read the story. Then I want you to run a class discussion like you do when I'm here. When I sit there and say, I want you guys to lead it and I'll chime in as necessary, except this time I'm not there to chime in as much. And I want you to go through, what did you guys put for this? What were some of the things you talked about? What did you see in the story as being the choice? Because you might not all have the same idea, and that's okay. All right. I'm really more interested in discussion as opposed to you having the quote unquote right answer. All right. This is something that should take the first half of class, between the read aloud, taking time to fill out the answers on your own first, and then have this discussion. During the second half of class, when you get back from lunch, I only have a few people that I think need to finish CDTs. But everybody else, what I'd like you to do then is focus on getting your ode complete, which some of you have done. All of you need to submit that on Schoology. You'll see the link for that. And then there's a survey I want you to complete about the CDTs. I started looking at some of the data and I just saw some interesting things come up. And I'm just very curious to pick your brains about what you thought about the questions and what was being asked of you and the passages and things like that. And I'll talk to you more about that next week, but I want to get your unbiased opinions on the survey before I say anything more than that. After you do the survey, you also can do SSR, or you can continue to work on your creative writing. So again, I'm sorry to not be there with you. Family obligations are calling me, but I'm excited for next week. We're going to start something new, and we'll also be kicking off some more of our grammar and going on to the next thing. All right. Have a great Friday, guys, and send me an email if you have any questions. I will be trying to check my email as much as I can throughout the day. All right. Bye.